You're listening to the Overcome Your Limits radio show, hosted by top motivational speaker Christopher E Powell. We'll be bringing you thought-provoking interviews, information, and inspiration from people from all walks of life, including business, finance, education, and ordinary individuals who have conquered tremendous odds to achieve great success. Tune in regularly to get the insight, inspiration, and motivation you need to dramatically improve your life and make a difference in the lives of others. Now, here's your host, Chris Powell.
Hello, and welcome to the Overcoming Challenges in the Four Phases of Life. Our guest today is Mr. Thomas C. Corley. Tom Corley is a best-selling author, speaker, and media contributor for Business Insider, CNBC, and a few other national media outlets. His rich habits research has been read, viewed, or heard by over 50 million people in 25 countries around the world. Besides being an author, Tom is also a CPA, CFP, and holds a master's degree in taxation. As president of Certifies and Company CPAs, Tom heads one of the premier financial firms in New Jersey. Tom's book, Rich Habits, is one of Amazon's best books of 2013. Tom, thank you for taking your time to be with us today.
Oh, Mike, thanks for having me on.
Your knowledge about the wealthy and how they attain their wealth is just phenomenal. So I would just like to start by asking you, in your opinion, how much does luck play into success? Is it about just preparation meeting opportunity, or do you believe that people create their own opportunities?
Well, Chris, what I found in my research is that persistence, relentless persistence in whatever you're pursuing, a dream, a goal, climbing the corporate ladder, or some career, some professional career that you're in, persistently going at it every day, trying to become better and improving your knowledge base, that creates opportunities. The more you learn, the better you get, the more opportunities you see. The metaphor I like to use is imagine you're in a forest and you're standing in a forest, and what you could see is all the trees that are right within your field of vision. Off to the side is a little hill, and as you climb that hill, that hill is a metaphor for self-improvement. As you climb that hill and you get higher and higher, and the more that you learn, and the better that you get from deliberate practice at whatever it is you do, you see more opportunities. So the higher you get up that hill, the more trees you see. And when you get to the top of the hill, you realize these weren't just trees. You were standing in a forest. Well, they were a forest of opportunities. So self-improvement, persistently growing every day in your knowledge base and in your skill sets, that creates opportunities. I found in my research that luck seems to favor the persistent. Those who go at it relentlessly and never stop trying, eventually they get lucky, and it's a form of luck that I call opportunity luck.
Fascinating. Yeah, I once heard Dr. Willie Jolly. We spoke with him recently, and he mentioned Lucille Ball, and I think she had a quote that said that the harder I work, the luckier I get. Become. So what you're saying is that you just have to be persistent and to keep trying and expand your knowledge. And as you expand your knowledge, lo and behold, you start having more opportunities.
That's right. The people who quit or who are constantly distracted by what I call bright shiny object syndrome. Bitcoin is an example of that right now. It's got everybody's attention. So my point is that if you're constantly quitting or moving on to something new, you're never going to gain the expertise, the knowledge, and the skills that allow you to see the opportunities that are all out there. Like there's a forest of opportunities. You're never going to see them if you quit or are victim to bright, shiny object syndrome. It's going to take you years. It might take you 5 years. It might take you 10 years. It might take you 20 years. But if you keep at it, eventually you get lucky, because luck does favor the persistent.
Excellent. A lot of people have difficulty seeing opportunities. Why do you think that is?
Because opportunities are invisible to most people, because most people are they don't have the knowledge and the skills to be able to see the opportunities. As you know, there are certain, like, I'll give you an example. I decided from my research, I decided I was going to become an expert in individual retirement accounts. That's a particular type of retirement account that has tax advantages. So I read probably about half a dozen books on it. After I was done gaining all of that knowledge, I was able to identify certain strategies that I didn't know before, and I implemented those strategies with probably about 15 to 20 clients, and that allowed me to make a little over $150,000 more in money, just because I gained knowledge about one particular thing that had to do with my business and my career, and I then saw the opportunities. I did not see the opportunities; they were invisible to me until I became expert enough and had enough knowledge to see them.
Yeah, well, also I've heard that, if you want to become an expert in something, you should read at least 3 books on that particular subject.
Yeah, that's my rule. If I don't know something, my rule is I read 3 books about that particular topic, and by the time I'm done with the 3rd book, I have a pretty firm grasp on it.
That really takes a lot of the blinders off, anyone's mind, because I think when you have that mindset to know no matter what you are dealing with, you're like, okay, wait a second, let me go to this book and read this on a particular subject. And the more I read, the stronger I'm going to become. So it really takes away a lot of ignorance, because you're like, okay, I may not know this now, but in the future, if I read a book on this topic, I'm going to master it, and I can become, a master of my own domain.
Yeah, so when I wrote Rich Habits, it was published back in 2010. That was the first book. I have 5 other books. But before I wrote Rich Habits, I spent a year, I probably read about 20 books on how to write books. And I learned so much, and I realized, my God, this is not that hard. And so I went about writing Rich Habits. It took about 18 months, but finally it got through. I got a publisher who edited it, and they and it became a huge bestseller. And this is a CPA who never knew how to write a book in his life, who's sold 100,000 copies of the book. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. The key that opens up the door is knowledge. You have to gain knowledge first, and that means you have to do your homework. You have to study, and you have to improve your knowledge base in a particular area if you want to gain expertise in it.
That's precious advice. So reading is one of the top things that we can ever do in our lives to make our lives better and more fulfilling.
That's right. You're absolutely right, Chris.
How do you think people can learn to see opportunities?
The only way, in my opinion, I don't want to say the only way. The best way that I've found from my research is by pursuing some dream. Now, when you pursue something, it's going to take a number of years for the learning curve to kick in until you really become knowledgeable and expert at it. So by pursuing a dream, you're forcing yourself to grow. You're forcing yourself to do the things that you need to do in order to learn the things you need to learn in order to be a success at it. And it takes years. And so what happens is by pursuing a dream, it actually automatically forces you into growth mode, because now you have to learn what you don't know about that dream that you're pursuing. So you start reading, you start listening to podcasts, you start watching videos, YouTube videos, and you start learning and gaining knowledge. And then once that happens, just because you pursued a dream, you become more knowledgeable, more expert, and you start to see these opportunities. So the best way to take the blinders off and to see opportunities that these self-made millionaires see every single day is to pursue some dream.
Wow. So actually, it's not just a fantasy. It's real. The things that pop into our minds. I know a lot of people might say, well, I had a dream last night, but, it's just not for me. But you're saying that's not true, that you actually, once you start to put in the work and develop the knowledge, that dream can actually become a reality.
Oh, it did for me on two new dreams that I pursued. One was to create a thriving financial planning practice. I've got that one that's really starting to kick in, and to become a very successful author, which has happened. So those two dreams that I pursued, I didn't know much about anything when I began pursuing them, but now, like on the financial planning, now I have my life insurance license, I have my health insurance license, I have my Series 6, I then got my Series 7 license, and now I have my CFP. So when you pursue a dream, it takes you down almost automatically down the paths that you need to go in order to gain the expertise and the knowledge that you're going to need. So it takes you in different directions that you may not have thought about. And I did the same thing, as I mentioned, I did with the author business. And now I can write a book in 30 days. I know exactly what to do, and I'm not talking about a 100-page book. I'm talking about a 250-page book. I can get that done in 30 days because I know exactly what to do because I've done it before. So these kind of things you only get better at what you deliberately practice at, and but you have to go at it every single day.
Right. That is awesome. What do you think are the 5 most important keys to achieving success when you're starting something new, particularly if you have limited resources, experience, networks, and credibility?
Well, the first thing is I would do something called dream setting, which is I would create a script of your life. It could be 1,000 words, 2,000 words, but It's not a very long script. In that script, you sort of paint a picture with words of your ideal, perfect future life, the life that you would love to have. You turn your imagination on. You say, "Let me go out 10 years. This is the life that I want to have." And what you do in that script is you actually write a letter to yourself as if you're writing in a journal. Hey, this is Chris Powell. It's 2020. It's December 2027. Wow, what an amazing 10 years it's been. I'm living in this amazing house, by the beach. I've got this great job, and you define whatever you write about the ideal job that you would like and how much money you're making and what you're doing every day. And so you create this script of your ideal, perfect life. And what happens in this dream setting exercise is slowly, one at a time, your dreams begin to become revealed to you. And then that script becomes the blueprint of your life. So dream setting is something you can do without any money. It actually creates a blueprint of your life. Then the second thing would be to build goals around specific dreams that you identified in your script. So if you want to become, let's say, an author, what kind of goals do you need to achieve? Well, you need to write. You got to write a book. So I don't know how to write a book. Well, then I have to read books on how to write a book. So you create these goals that allow you to gain the expertise and the knowledge that allows you to realize the dream of writing a book. So you define a dream, and then you build 4, 5, or 6 or more goals around each dream. The third thing is daily self-learning and deliberate practice. So you want to every day devote at least 30 minutes or more. The Self-Made Millionaires in my study, many of them devoted hours a day, 2 or 3 hours a day, to self-learning and deliberate practice. And you do that every day, and you become better and better. And, of course, that doesn't require any money because you're doing it typically they were doing it in the morning, the Self-Made Millionaires. So, and then you can focus. The fourth thing is to focus every day on your dream or the thing that the goals that are behind the dreams. And the fifth thing is to persist, to never quit, never give up on your dream. You never quit on your dream because, as I mentioned, luck favors the persistent. I was ready to quit on my author business back in the summer of 2011, and I didn't. 2 years later, I became a huge bestseller, sold tens of thousands of books. I was on CBS, the Dave Ramsey Show, and since then, thousands and thousands of other media outlets, some of them big, some of them small, but if I had quit, none of that would have ever happened. I would have never made the money that I made in the author business had I not persisted. So those are the 5 things.
Wow, that is an amazing testimonial. And I've often heard people say that when right before you had the idea to quit, usually something will break through. And I've witnessed that in my own life as well. It's like as soon as you get ready, you just almost ready to quit, but then as soon as you try one more time, you get that the breakthrough that you've been looking for. And the thing that I always like to mention is that when you break through, all that pain is like it's just a distant memory. You don't call it, but the success outweighs the pain by so much more. So, wow, I'm very happy that you continue to pursue your dream, and now it's really helped you to become, the great success that you are.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that.
At the deepest level, what do you think or feel is the greatest driving force for people who want to attain success?
I think the 2 most important things are the dream setting process, because you need to, define success. What is success to you? So the dream setting process, creating that script or that blueprint of your ideal, perfect future life, going out 10, 15, 20 years, that's one of the most important things. And then the second thing, most important thing would be persistence, never quitting. So pursuing a dream and never quitting on your dream.
Fantastic. If you were speaking to a group of young people, some who were in college, some who were currently working but not in college, and some who were undecided about the future, could you name the 3 top things that you would talk with them about?
Yeah, the first thing I would tell them is you need to experiment. You need to engage in different activities and devote some time to each activity, maybe 3 months to each activity. Only through experimentation are you able to uncover some innate talent or some passion that you might have for something. Because when you discover an innate talent or a passion for something, you're going to probably devote the rest of your life to it because you love doing it, because you're good at it or you're passionate about it. So experimentation is the number one thing. And as an aside to this, there's an organization called the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts. These two organizations, they give out these things called merit badges. There's 135 of these merit badges you can get. Each merit badge is an activity. It might be robotics. It might be business in America. That's one of their topics. It might be, astronomy. It might be law. They have 135 of these things, Chris. And that's a great organization that allows because it allows for experimentation at a very young age, so kids can find out what their innate talents are or what they're passionate about. So, number one thing would be to experiment. The second thing would be self-learning. You have to try and learn as much as you can about as many different things as you can when you're young. When you get older, you need to focus that self-learning on your career, your business, the dreams that you're pursuing, the goals behind the dreams. So self-learning would be the second most important thing. The third one would be build power relationships. I would tell young people, you want to build relationships with other success-minded people. And where do you find those people? You find them in nonprofit organizations. Most of the nonprofit organizations are run, specifically the local nonprofits, are run by successful people in the community. Those successful people, some of them are rich or some of them are on the verge of being rich, but they're all in some way, shape, or form successful in whatever it is that they do. That's why they were asked to be part of the board of a nonprofit. Well, you get to build relationships with these people, and these people can help open doors for you. They can help, for example, you get into a particular college. They might know people at that college. They might be able to get you an internship. They might be able to get you a job. So these relationships you build with these power influencers, which happen to be on a lot of these local community nonprofits, that would be the third thing I would tell young people to do, because relationships are the currency of the wealthy. And you want to make sure, however, that you're building relationships with the right kind of people. And the right kind of people, the only people you really want to build relationships with that will help you become successful in life are positive, upbeat people who are success-minded.
Wow. That information is just very, very, it can expedite a lot of time for people that are trying to find their way, because I know a lot of students, a lot of people that are either going to college, they may be doing things just because they, their parents want them to, or for a reason. But like you mentioned, when you can find a passion and you can experiment and find people that have already been there, that have had success, and they can kind of follow in their footsteps, or just be like, they can be under their stewardship. That really helps that person to really expedite their dreams and their goals.
Yeah, these are all strategies that I uncovered in my research, and I write about them. It's on my website, my blog. You can go there and find. I put all this information up for free. So at richhabits.net, just go there and then I think that when you see this stuff only works if you are interested in pursuing success. And really, Chris, what I found in my research is only about 5% of the population really wants to be successful. They might say they want to be rich, but they don't want to do what it takes to get rich. And this is why I focus so much on habits, because habits they kind of put you on autopilot for wealth or for poverty. Successes and failure, they're just processes. And, what's behind the process or the process is really your habits. So, it's, I just hope that if there are any kids out there listening, young people who are struggling in life and uncertain, as I was back when I was younger and starting out in college, I would have loved to have run into this information back then. I can tell you that much.
Definitely, I know this is going to really help a lot of our readers and viewers that are hearing your information. Because, as I mentioned, you're giving our listeners and myself just a blueprint to say, look, you want to be successful, follow these steps.
Right. It's a process. So here's the process. That's all I'm giving is the process. Here's the process. And this is what you need to do. And, 95% won't follow it. 5% will, and the 5% will end up becoming wealthy.
Wow. Once again, thank you, Tom. Why
You're
is
welcome.
it important to have a mentality of excellence in everything you do? Has this shaped your thinking about success and the possibilities for others?
Yeah. So one of the things that I uncovered in my research, which kind of blew me away, was that almost every single self-made millionaire had a positive mental outlook. They were upbeat and they were enthusiastic. When part of my research requires that I study the brain, so I had to become a self-made expert in neurology, neuroplasticity, and basically how the brain works. And one of the things that I uncovered in the many studies that I've read on neurology, particularly, was that when you have a positive mental outlook, you use 100% of your brain. When you have a negative mental outlook, you use only 2/3 of your brain. You're using your limbic system, which houses your emotional center, and you're using your brain, your brain stem. Those are the oldest parts of the brain. The neocortex, the third part of the brain, is really one of the most recent additions to our evolution of our brain. And the wealthy people, because they have a positive mental outlook, they're actually using all three parts of the brain. Negative people, because they're negative, their amygdala, which is part of the limbic system, is kind of controlling a lot of their thinking and their behaviors. And it shuts down the prefrontal cortex, which is the thinking and command and control center part of the brain. So people who are negative are actually handicapped. They're working with only 2/3 of a brain.
That is fascinating. I would have never thought about the brain in that kind of context. So it pays to be positive because you're actually using 100% of your brain. Or if you're frustrated or just down the dumps, you're only using 66% of your brain. Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. Well, I guess now, Tom, it kind of leads me to this question. A lot of people fear change. We're discussing, changing your lifestyle and how you do things. A lot of people fear change. Can you explain a few reasons why they should embrace change?
Yes. Change is how you grow. And only through growth do you become the person you need to be in order for success to visit you. So people that are afraid to change are afraid to experiment and try new things. So they become stagnant. They don't grow. And so they never evolve into the person they need to be in order to become successful. A lot of the self-made millionaires in my study came from poverty. And So they did not have a very good educational background. They didn't have a lot of knowledge. They weren't taught a lot of things by their parents that they needed to know. They figured it out. In many cases, they stumbled onto it through a mentor. But those individuals, whoever they ran into, who helped mentor them positively in life, allowed them to grow, and they steered them in the right direction, and always that right direction requires change. What change does is, if you can visualize, every person lives inside of a circle, and every time you experiment and change or try something different, that circle expands. So your comfort level grows bigger. So the bigger and bigger your circle becomes, because you're constantly changing, constantly experimenting, trying new things, learning and growing, the more you get comfortable with. And the greater your comfort level, the less risk averse you become. So people who have a small circle are risk averse. They don't want to change. They don't want to do different things, and so they're never going to be really successful in life. The people that have a large circle, because they overcome their fear of change, and they grow by learning and by doing. Their circle grows bigger, and their comfort grows bigger and bigger, and they're willing to take more risk.
I know for a fact that, due to my condition, that if I hadn't been able to, challenge myself or overcome my fear or, learn different techniques, I would definitely have a very small circle. And not to say I have the circle that I want to have, but I know that by experimentation and trying new things and just changing my way I do things, I've been able to overcome some of the challenges that my condition has caused me to have. So I totally understand that point of view. We have to be able to grow, and like you mentioned, in order to grow, you have to change the way you do certain things in your life.
That's right, Chris. You put it perfectly.
Tom, do you give yourself a timetable for executing changes in your model or decision-making process? Is there a window of opportunity that you live by? And how important are deadlines to you?
Well, I have to confess, I thrive on deadlines. I actually like to create artificial deadlines for myself, and the way I do that is by communicating those deadlines to others who are relying on me to accomplish what it is I told them I was going to get done by a certain date. So those people I force them to become my accountability partners. So by communicating to others that you're going to get something done by a certain date, to me is important. As long as you let those people know that they have to hold your feet to the fire, because when they become your accountability partners, they push you to get whatever it is that you have to get done. So yes, I'll reach out to those I work with. I'll try and gather information, as much information as I can from them, and then once I have what I feel is enough information, I give myself either 1 or 2 nights. I like to sleep on it 1 or 2 nights, because that allows my subconscious brain, which is really the most powerful, oldest part of the brain, the limbic system and the brain stem. I like to sleep on it so my brain can go to work behind the scenes and kind of deliver to me the answer that I need. And then after 1 or 2 nights, I make a decision, and then I move on to the next thing. I would do those 2 things. So set artificial deadlines and communicate them to people who will be your accountability partners. And the thing is, gather as much information as you can until you feel you have enough information, and then sleep on it, and then make a decision.
Well, I know that in my experience that, when I create a deadline, I put that pressure on myself to realize how important it is, because the more you procrastinate, it's kind of like kicking the can down the road. You just continue to kick it down the road, and you never, ever address what you want to accomplish. So that's why also I totally concur that deadlines are so important, because it forces you to address it and to face it and to deal with it and to complete it.
Yeah, and this is just as a dovetail, this is why it's also important to communicate your goals with people who are important to you. There's there are a lot of experts out there that say do not communicate your goals with anybody. That, from my research, that's the opposite of right. The correct thing is to communicate your goals to others, and kind of try and get those people engaged in your goal-setting process by, in some way, shape, or form, becoming accountability partners. Because once you do that, you put that, as you said, pressure on yourself, and then that additional pressure is going to force you to maybe go the extra mile in the pursuit of your goals. You might, if you didn't tell anybody about your goals, you might just quit on them and move on. But if other people around you know you're pursuing something, they're a constant reminder. Hey, Chris, how you doing on that goal? Did you finish that book that you were talking about 3 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why not, Chris? And then you start feeling guilt,
right.
And that guilt drives you to take action. So my advice is, don't listen to the experts that tell you not to communicate your goals. Communicate your goals to others, but only to the people who are positive, upbeat, and success-minded, because you don't need to communicate to toxic people. They're only going to drag you down. In order to achieve goals and dreams, you need to surround yourself with upbeat, positive people. So they'll when you communicate your goals to those types of people, they're going to constantly encourage you and remind you, hey, Chris, you made a commitment about this goal and this dream and what's going on, and then they'll encourage you, and you'll feel better about it, and you'll push yourself the extra mile.
Creating that team that's good, besides your own, conscience telling you what you need to do. You have other people that are in your corner that are like-minded and positive that can kind of remind you and kind of give you a little added pressure to know that, if you're not doing what you said what you're going to do, they're going to remind you, hey, what's going on. So it's more accountability, and it causes you to kind of keep what you said you're going to do and what you want.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And Tom, the last question that I have, I'd like to ask is, what would be your $1 million or $1 billion idea that you would like to put together that could change the world?
I love that question, Chris. I would have to say unlimited free energy. If I could somehow, if I had the skill set and the knowledge base, and that was something I was dedicated to as part of my career, if I had that background, I would devote myself exclusively to free energy that doesn't require really any costly inputs or of raw material like oil and gas does, and even solar energy. That's free energy, but the cost of creating that infrastructure to capture it is expensive. So if there was some device that I could manufacture or invent that created, that was able to absorb the energy that's all around us and create this, transform it into some type of end product that could be used by others as free energy, that to me I think would change the world. It would change humanity. I think it's probably the most important thing, really.
Oh, I know a lot of people could definitely benefit from that, and just the idea that, people could stay warm in the wintertime and stay cool in the summertime and have plenty of, gasoline for their cars.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that definitely would, impact and help the planet as a whole. But Tom, is there any way that if people want to contact you, how could they get in touch with you? Because your knowledge is
the best way is you go to richhabits.net. I put all of my research on there. Many of my books, what my books are, I like to write narratives and stories, but I like to weave into them all the research that my websites. So my books are really a one-stop shop that house my research. But on my website, richhabits.net, all my research is out there, and it's free. I don't charge for it. I don't even have any advertising on it. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in helping people move from poverty or the middle class to wealth. So there's free ebooks on my website. There's free reports. You can access. I put some of the biggest national and international media interviews that I've done, or big articles that were written about me, or that I've written. I put them on my website so you can learn just about everything that you can about the research that I'm doing on the habits, and also if you subscribe to the website or the blog, it's the same thing. Every day I put out a tip of the morning to you, and every month I put out 2, 3, or 4 articles. They're more extensive about some of my research, more extensive than the tips. And then every week I put out a video on some topic, and so you basically it's one-stop shopping for success and for wealth creation.
Well, Tom, we sincerely thank you for your time. This interview has just been incredible and awesome, and we really, I truly appreciate what you've done and what you're doing, because there's so many things that we go through in life that we're not aware of, or we don't understand. It's kind of like kind of a fog, It's just like, well, I see other people doing things, but what is lying behind that? How did they get to that point? And the work that you put into that is just priceless, and we really thank you for your time and for doing this interview for the Overcoming Challenges in the 4 Phases of Life book. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Chris, and thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you for listening to the Overcome Your Limits radio show with motivational speaker Christopher E Powell. Tune in regularly to get the insight, inspiration, and motivation you need to dramatically improve your life and make a difference in the lives of others. We encourage you to continue the conversation online and let us know your thoughts at overcomeyourlimits.com, as well as to sign up for our newsletter. Until next time, in the words of Chris Powell, when you possess the will to win, there are no limits that you can't overcome.